Okay, welcome everyone. My lovely eldest child has agreed to join me because she did such a fabulous job on her own of navigating the college application process. We are homeschoolers. The only thing I helped her with is the counselor recommendation letter. It's what I had to do for her. And so since she did such a great job and was successful in getting into so many schools, including her top choices, I asked her if she would be willing to answer questions about navigating the whole process and choosing a school. And then once you're into a school, what you kind of need to prepare before you leave, which she is getting ready to do shortly. So what would you like to start with first? How about, a lot of people have questions about the Common App, because those of us who are parental age did not have Common App when we were applying to schools. It's very different. I mean, we only applied to a few schools usually because the applications were so costly. So Common App helps with some of that. So you want to talk a little bit about that process?
So there's like 3 ways you can go about applying to schools. You have like the school's application on their website. Then you have the Common App. There's also the Collation app, which I think is mainly like, that's people who usually are trying to get into Clemson will use that one because Clemson accepts the most people in that program.
Just remember to talk slowly. I might want to be taking notes.
Okay, I'm not a teacher. I'm a theater student. But I personally did the Common App, and then for the schools that weren't on the Common App for me, I just did the school's application. The best part about the Common App is that you can send your ACT, SAT scores and like your transcript to the Common App, and then they'll send it to everyone for you. So you're only paying the one fee to send it to the Common App. So if most of your schools are on the Common App, it's best to use that to apply instead of doing each one individually.
Is a Common App hard to use?
No, Common App's great because the Common App for this application cycle is already open, but I personally went in like May, June, and I filled out like my basics information on the Common App, so I already had like the common part of the Common App filled out, and then the application for each school opens on August 1st of every year, so then you can go in and fill that out. You can't fill that out before your application cycle starts because it doesn't tell you this anywhere.
Yes, this is a big tip. Like,
it doesn't
learn from her hard mistake.
It doesn't tell you this anywhere, but when the application cycle reopens each session, it deletes everything. So if you've already put in your information and like the school specific parts, it's going to get deleted, which I didn't know. And I lost an essay that I had to rewrite, which wasn't fun. But yeah.
So even that's why people need this, so they don't make that mistake. Okay, anything else about the Common App?
You get confetti when you apply. Like you hit submit and then it gives you confetti. It's like, woo, you applied to a school.
And did the schools message you through the Common App, or?
No, they messaged me through the email that I had in the Common App, because once you submit the Common App, it goes ahead and like usually you get an email and it's like, here's how to create a profile in our academic portal so you can get your acceptance through our portal. So you'll get like an email from the Common App when you submit, and it's like, here's the link to go to, and it'll set it up for you. And usually you get like the same username and password as your Common App profile. It just creates it in the school system so they can send stuff out easier.
From a parent point of view, and this is going to be a little bit different if you have a child in public or private school, the counselors there are very used to the Common App and how to use that. They'll know what to submit for you as far as recommendation letter, and then when it comes time to submit the transcript. So if you are a homeschooler, I will tell you the hardest part of this whole process for me was writing the counselor recommendation letter, because it feels very strange to be your child's parent and you've gotten used to being their teacher, and now all of a sudden you have to write a counselor letter too. However, in this one instance, Google is actually your friend. There's several examples of recommendation letters out there that you can use, and whatever suits your child best. You obviously want to talk about their strengths, but it's also important don't paint a bigger picture for them than who they are. Like, it's actually really great to mention a weakness they have and how they've overcome that weakness. They like to see that in the recommendation letter. So then there's a whole spot for you. I had to make my own account, didn't I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the counselor has to make their own account to fill it out. Usually everyone you're getting a recommendation letter for through the Common App has to make an account. But all you really have to do is, you'll go into the recommendation letters portion. And I didn't, none of the schools I applied to required recommendation letters. I just sent them anyway because I'm cool like that. So you just like hit add a person and you put their name in and their email, and the Common App will send them an email, be like, hey, this person invited you to submit a letter of recommendation for them. And it'll either prompt you to create an account, or if that person already has an account, they can just sign in and then submit.
And it's all free.
Yeah.
So if you get asked to write a recommendation letter, it's not gonna cost you anything to do the app process. So yeah, I wasn't too sure personally about the Common App in the beginning, but I ended up really liking it. I think it worked well.
And I did look at the collation. I think that's how, I think that's the name of it. I could be wrong.
Collation or coalition?
Coalition, I believe. I don't know.
I don't know because she didn't show it to me.
Yeah, I just looked at it very briefly because I was looking at Clemson for a little bit. And I just like, it's kind of the same thing as the Common App. I think the Common App's better just because it was more user friendly from a little bit I messed around with both of them.
So outside of Common App, like actually dealing with the colleges with applications. You want to talk about that?
Okay, so they're great when it comes to like submitting applications and like getting back to you in a timely manner. But my biggest issue is a lot of schools, you'll be like, hey, I'm not going here. And they'll still send you emails every single week. And you have to keep being like, I'm not going here. I'm not going here. I'm not going here. Until
yeah, I'm still getting
the only
emails.
I do want to say mad props to Virginia Wesleyan because they are the only school that the minute they were constantly in contact, just making sure I didn't have any questions about the process, like updating me on my financial aid situation. And the minute I was like, hey, I'm not going, they're like, okay, thank you so much. We might send you one follow-up email to ask about why you're not going here, where you're going. But they sent that email and I have not heard from them since. So like,
well, in some places too, like your plans may have fallen through. Maybe they want to keep you on your list just in case. Hey, it's nice to be wanted. Some people don't get in places. They don't get those. It's better to have those emails than not get them.
But I feel like on like the eighth time around of them asking me, they should have been like, okay.
Okay. So you felt like most schools have a straightforward application process?
Yeah, it was
okay. And she applied to 12, right?
I ended up only applying to 11, I believe.
Okay.
Because I was going to apply to American, but at that point I heard back from all my top schools. Because I also applied early action. Do you want me to talk about the difference between early decision, early action, and regular decision and rolling admissions?
Go for it.
Okay, so there's 4 different, I don't know where I'm going, 4 different types.
I'm going to grab a water while you do that.
There's 4 different types of ways you can apply. You have early decision, which is if you get in, you're required to go to the school. You usually get the most financial aid if you do this. Early action, which just means you get like the second most financial aid and you hear back early. But keep in mind when you're looking at early action, early decision for some schools, because some schools will call their early decision early action and they'll just have the early action regular decision. So it can get confusing. So you just have to double check on the website. Then you have regular decision, which is the later submission date, and you usually don't hear back until like February, March-ish if you got in. And then there's rolling admissions, which basically you submit your application, you're probably going to hear back within like 2 weeks.
All right, now I have a question. When I was applying, if you applied early decision, you had to accept that acceptance.
Yes, I said that.
Oh, you did? I'm sorry. I was getting water and I missed that. Okay. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Definitely don't apply early decision anywhere that
you don't know if you definitely want to go.
Right. I did early decision back in the day because I knew where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh. So, okay, explain that whole process.
Mm-hmm.
And schools are very clear on their websites about what.
Yeah, just double check the websites because sometimes schools will call early action. Well, they'll call early decision early action, and they'll just have the early action regular decision. And if you think early action only means one thing, you can get stuck at a school you don't want to go to.
Okay. Also, you did mention, you brought up deadlines. You were great about keeping track of your own deadlines.
I had a spreadsheet.
She did a spreadsheet. Now I'm going to say, because I see in a lot of the on the Facebook groups about both homeschool and just kids going off to college, parents managing all this for their children. Now you know your own child. You may have a child that you absolutely have to do that for. I have 3 kids. They're all very different. So, but I'm going to highly recommend, if you can at all, let your child navigate this deadline process, because you're giving them a life skill. Now, this one I didn't have to worry about. Like she said, she made a spreadsheet. So talk about that.
Spreadsheet. Oh my gosh, I have a spreadsheet. If someone wants to use my spreadsheet, I literally have a doc of it that's just like, here, copy this, and you can have my spreadsheet. Basically, mine's a little different because I was applying as a theater major, so I had like 4 separate deadlines for things. Because I had what I put in my spreadsheet for like deadlines is I had the early action deadline and the regular decision deadline in case I wanted to like take a break and I just wanted to apply regular. But then I also had the like 2 theater deadlines because there was like a round 1 of applications and then a round 2, and I wasn't sure which one I was going to submit in, just because it's just reviewing them at a different time. And I ended up doing round 1 for some schools and round 2 for some others, just so it was more spaced out because I had to film a few different things for that. But my spreadsheet, can I pull up my spreadsheet? I know they can't see it, but I just want to reference it so I don't mess it up.
Yes, sure.
So, and I use Google Sheets, so like in the A column, that's where I put like all of what was going to be in the rest of the columns. The top line was the schools I was applying to, and then I like bolded different sections. So my sections were school details, admissions, and requirements. So in school details, I put the size of the school. I put what city it was in and the size of the city, because that's gonna affect like crime rates and stuff like that. And just like if you want to be at a bigger school in a smaller town, or like a smaller school in a bigger town, just to like do things, it gives you a look at that. My admissions section was the application deadline for early and general, the application fee, where I was applying, like where, if I was using the Common App, where I had to go to the school's website, if they required an essay, if they required a letter of recommendation, and then if I'd sent my transcript to them or not yet. And then requirements, I like put the SAT, ACT score, that was like the mid-range of the school, if they required the essay, the middle GPA, and how many credits you needed in English, math, science, social studies, and foreign language to apply. And then once I like narrowed down like where I was going and stuff, the spreadsheet became a little smaller, like more specific details, but you probably don't need that one.
I would not have been that organized. So
I also have multiple YouTube playlists.
So basically, she's going to walk my next 2 children through the college application process, because, well, Neil, here's what's funny. When I was her age, I was like this. I'm not this way anymore. I don't know. 3 kids. I don't know what happened. So, see, so I'm proud of you. Well, there are many reasons I'm proud of you, but how you handle this whole process was fantastic. Okay, so that covers deadlines. I know this is going to be different for each individual person. But are there any like standard tips you learned along the way for narrowing down your choices?
So narrowing down your choices, you're gonna want to like wait until you hear back from most schools, unless you like happen to hear from like all your top schools first. Then like go you, I guess you can just like not apply to everywhere else. I think that's Chris's plan actually, because he's been looking at Penn and Coastal, and they both have rolling admissions, so he's just gonna apply and then see if he needs to apply to safeties afterwards. Okay. Sorry. Anyway, I keep moving this way.
That's okay.
The wrong way. What was I saying? Like picking the school, like narrowing it down.
Mm-hmm.
So I narrowed it down by like. So I got into most of my safeties first. So like I would just like compare this, like I would compare the safeties and just like knock one off at a time. So I was really, when it was my safeties, there was only like one school I was considering. Once I started getting into like my target and my dream schools, that's when I kind of like I just kept one safety on the list. That gave me a lot of scholarship money because it's a safety. I was like way above the requirements. They gave me like a gazillion dollars.
I wish.
And then it was a little harder for me this year because my next recommendation would be a tour. But there were like limits on tours this year.
And some schools are still limiting, so maybe you want to talk about that a little
Some
bit.
schools are still limiting. I think personally, like what I did for that situation is I like looked up YouTube like tours of said school, and instead of there's like a bunch that the school's gonna have posted, but if you can find like one of the small college YouTubers that only has like 200 subscribers and they're like just like vlogging their life at the school, because I find that so much more genuine.
Mhm.
That's actually why I applied to Coastal. There was a pamphlet at my theater, and then I was like, huh, this school seems interesting. And I looked up and I found this YouTuber who only had like 400 subscribers at the time. He has like 2,000 now. It's wild. But he's at Coastal and he was just like vlogging and it looked fun. So
Plus, they tell you about like little out-of-the-way places to eat
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So that's fun.
tell you about stuff like that.
I will say as a parent under Rona, that a parent with a child going off to college under Rona, that was the hardest thing. Like as a family, we couldn't all go on a tour with you at the schools you were looking at. And so, you want to see where your kid's going to be and you want to get a feel for it too, even though ultimately it's like where they feel like they'll fit best. And I mean, there are a lot of factors, financial aid too, but that was really hard.
I was personally very fortunate because I got to tour Elon when I got in. But then I was also invited to tour High Point and Coastal. I was like, they specifically were like, hey, we'd like you to come on the tour. For High Point specifically, I was invited to their like early decision day where like you get your they tell you if you got in or not early. Sorry. So that was cool. There were cheerleaders. It was fun.
And the drum line, right?
And yeah, like part of the
See, I didn't get to see any of that.
but also High Point's very over the top. Nothing to High Point, but they're just very over the top.
So beautiful, beautiful campus. If you ever have time to visit there, go. It's nice. I did get to walk around after the tour, so that was fun.
Yeah.
But like Elon, I didn't get to walk around at all, other than down by like where the coffee shops and all that.
And Elon, it's like it's pretty. I can see why it's like ranked the prettiest campus, but it was a lot of brick. Like it's like third prettiest campus in the States. So
I just mean like when we got the email, they actively asked families not to walk around. Remember, because social distancing and all that. So hopefully by the time you're watching this, more places will have opened up and you'll actually get to go with your child and see the campus and everything.
I don't know, just this is like nothing against like you, but personally in my opinion, it was a little bit nicer that it was like only like the student tour guide and me, and then like my dad is the one who came with me because like one family member. It was like 1 to 3 people, family members, including yourself. So it'd be like 4 people total were allowed. It was just nice because
not every school was like that.
Not every school, but that was like the general consensus for schools. It was just nice just because it felt like it wasn't, because they were also limiting it. You got like a personal tour guide that was usually like specialized to like your major, like at least your like college building. And it just from talking to people who've gone on bigger college tours, it's like they like never got to really talk to any of the students or anything. And I felt like I got to like actually have a conversation with a student.
Silver linings.
With a student about like how they actually felt about the school. And I also just felt like it felt more like a college place because personally, I don't know if you know, but Daddy was like walking a few feet behind us. So I felt very adult.
She is an adult now. Y'all. Okay. So let's cover some of tours. I don't think we need to go over like testing scores because every school is different and people.
Yeah, every school's different. Just like if you have like a dream school before you take a test, you can like study harder if you think you need to.
Yeah, look and see what their requirements are. Like this one, she never would have agreed to take pre-calc except
Coastal required it because their two big majors are theater and marine biology. So they got to make sure those marine biology students have the pre-calc.
Yes. And probably because I didn't force her to take it, she did really well on it. So anyway, yeah, just look up your school's requirements.
Yeah.
Okay. Once you've made your decision, any big tips you want to give them for getting ready? I know you liked YouTubers for that. too.
Yes, I have there's like a whole list of YouTubers I have because all my friends were like, hey, do you have advice for me? I can pull up the list.
Well, we can put it in the chat underneath
Okay.
the.
I have a list because it's also like sorted into sections. I do know my favorite is Marissa Nicole on YouTube. She graduated in 2020, worked to her, but she's great. She went to Ohio State. She does like a lot of videos. She does a lot of like how to save money during college videos, which I think is really important. She's good.
Yeah, all things people my age didn't have access to, like just practical, real experienced tips.
But she
Like, what do you really need to take for your dorm room?
Yeah,
'Cause-
if you're looking for stuff like that, shoot, what's her last name? I can't remember her last name, but her first name's Keegan. She goes to Arizona State, but she does a lot of sorority stuff, a lot of like what's you actually are gonna need in your dorm, that type of stuff.
So how else did you? Because she gave me a long list, and I said, remember, we got to buy some stuff when we get there because it's not all going to fit. in the
I also
car.
have another spreadsheet for what I needed to bring. If you can't tell, I like spreadsheets.
Which is so funny because I do not like spreadsheets.
I love spreadsheets so much.
And now I love a good list. Like I like marking things off a list, but there's something about a spreadsheet that
The
just
spreadsheet, you can like color code, you can put fun colors in there, and it's just like
Okay, Mr. Cutrate.
colors are cool. Don't listen to her. Colors are great.
But this is just proof like you can get it done a variety of ways.
Yes.
This is what worked for you.
Yes.
Don't wait to the last minute. That's gonna be my one
no.
tip.
Personally, I was like low-key making lists in sophomore year, and I like already bought some of the stuff I could use. Like I've had the rug that I'm gonna bring since I was like a freshman, because I was like, this is a cute rug. Oh, it says it's for college. How useful. And
That's the other thing. I think you need to know what kind of shopper and planner and all that your student is, because this one has been very practical, like with the cost of things. There's some things I've actually had to make you get to say, no, you're going to need this, and it's worth that price. And
the only thing I wanted to splurge on was like my mattress topper, and then my pillow ended up being more than my mattress topper.
hey, we want them to sleep well.
It's a
at
memory
school
foam
and sleep
pillow.
well. So, pick and choose. There's some things that you in fact, I think you said a lot of YouTubers recommended this, and you did it. Like we went to Five Below for stuff. There's no reason to pay out the wazoo for like power strips and
Yeah.
and cords and chargers and
I do also
organizers, that
yeah.
kind of stuff.
I got like desk organizers at Five Below. The only thing is, if you're really going for like a really specific color scheme, that can be hard. Everything I got's gray, so.
And she was also very practical in that you need to look, okay, all dorms are going to be different, right? But she knows she's only going to have that twin extra long bed for 1 year. And so you didn't want to buy really expensive stuff for that
Yeah.
when you're not going to use it again.
And that's like a very coastal specific thing. They have like apartments for the sophomores to live in just so they can get adjusted to that lifestyle if they do decide to move out junior year. And they get full beds in there. So that's like a very coastal specific thing. You're probably, if you're going to be in a twin bed for like 2 years, which is what most people are going to experience, you probably want to get nicer stuff for that.
I don't know. I mean, most people I know are off campus stuff. 2nd year.
A lot of the rules have changed. Most people are requiring first 2 years on campus now, just because a lot of studies have shown that if you're living on campus, you're more likely to go to class and get better grades. So they're like, hey, get good grades in your core classes, then do whatever you want. I don't care. So
Okay, I will refrain from my stories on that, but okay. Anything else you want to share with us that you think would be useful? Okay, well, thank you for doing this. if you do think of anything, ask, and I'll either get her to type out a response, or if we get really lucky, she might do another video for us. You never know. Okay, thanks everyone. Oh. I meant to hit stop.